I'm indeed humbled, and I am deeply conscious of the high honor bestowed on me as the chief guest of such a esteemed function. As a nation, we owe much to the vision of people like Jamnalal, who had the foresight to recognize the democratic, ethical, and liberal values like ahimsa would transform a nation's quest for freedom into the most powerful national movement the world has ever witnessed. I find the awards as means towards addressing the most important challenge we face today. That is the challenge of building an equitable society in an environment of inclusive globalization. These awards would serve as an intense source of inspiration, not only for the people who are conferred with the awards, but also for others who get to know the relevance of their commitment. Today, I'd like to speak about the importance of philanthropy by private sector in building an equitable society and the relevance of acknowledging people who reach out to the less fortunate by exercising leadership in social causes. Today, 10.7 million children do not live to see their 5th birthday, and more than 2.5 billion people, that is 40% of the global population, are forced to survive with less than $2 a day. According to Jim Wolfenson, former World Bank chief, I quote him, "Poor people don't want charity. They want a chance, they want an opportunity, they want recognition, they want a voice, they want peace, and they want to fix the future for themselves. And if they do, all of us will live a better life," unquote. Poverty has multiple dimensions, and measuring poverty by way of income is just one of them. According to a study by World Bank, for poor people, income was the last thing to be mentioned on poverty. What mattered to them was the ability to contribute to the future, the opportunity for their children. They wanted to participate in the progress that was happening around them. Government can indeed provide the primary requirements like education and healthcare. It can create infrastructure and support mechanisms like public governance. Government can improve the availability and affordability of the public services. But in many countries, such governments and its institutions may be less equipped or even just incapable of dealing with social problems. Private organizations and individuals play an important role in transforming the socio-economic landscape. Let me give you 2 recent examples. The Nobel Peace Prize for 2006 was awarded to Dr. Muhammad Yunus and the Grameen Bank for their efforts to create economic and social development for the economically less equipped people. Nobel Prize Committee mentioned, and I quote, "Lasting peace cannot be achieved unless large population groups find ways in which to break out of poverty," unquote. Another example where a collective effort was demonstrated is the relief efforts following the tsunami in the year 2004 that left some 300,000 people dead and millions homeless. It required participation from individuals, from private sector, and from several other institutions who not only provided the money and the materials required, but also provided support in terms of basic things like post-calamity, trauma counseling, providing the affected people with alternative livelihood options. India, which has been a success story in the face of globalization, performs very poorly when it comes to human development indicators. According to the UNDP Human Development Report, 1 out of every 11 Indian children dies in the first 5 years of life, and the death rate for children aged 1 to 5 is 50% higher for girls than for boys. In terms of life expectancy, the report says, and I quote, "Somebody born in India can expect to live 14 years fewer than somebody born in the United States," unquote. Our Prime Minister had once remarked, and I quote him, "The slow improvement in the health status of our people has been a matter of great concern to us. We have paid inadequate attention to public health," unquote. This underscores the fact that the government requires a strong support from the private sector. from the philanthropic institutions and individuals to ensure better human development, not just restricted to the area of health. In India, we have always looked forward for social support from the government. We feel that it is the responsibility of the government alone. This led to insufficient partnership between philanthropic organizations, the government and the private sector. However, with the contribution of the state-owned enterprises being less than 20% of the total individual output of the nation, the private sector has a major role to play in extending support to the social causes. Role of the Indian private sector should not be just restricted to addressing events of despair. They should bring about a full development process of planned change, aiming at lasting improvements in the quality of lives of people at large. Participation by private sector would infuse professionalism in the philanthropic efforts expended and in measuring the impact of efforts. Key challenge faced by several philanthropic organizations and foundations worldwide is the difficulty in measuring the output and quantifying the impact they create. At Harvard, as Harvard professors Michael Porter and Mark Kramer say, and I quote them, concerted effort through secular charitable foundations has to go well beyond the gifts of private donors. They should achieve a social impact disproportionate to their spending, unquote. Globally, business groups which have created philanthropic organizations have brought in the essential governance mechanisms, stronger financial management systems, and performance management systems. For benefits of globalization and technology to reach the poor, private sector, philanthropic institutions, and committed individuals should cooperate and establish partnership with the government institutions. This would lift millions of our people out of poverty, provide them with opportunities, and make them participate in the process and progress of globalization. I conclude by quoting Mother Teresa, who said, what we are doing is just a drop in the ocean. But if that drop was not in the ocean, I think the ocean would be less because of that missing drop, unquote. Thank you very much.